When a highly touted NFL player fails to live up to expectations, it's not entirely his fault.
They don't have the confidence in him. They have more confidence in Daniel Jones than Anthony Richardson.
So, now playing the beautiful what-if game, how about we dive into 10 recent NFL busts who could have been great if they had just landed on another team. Anthony Richardson, Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons stunned everybody when they drafted Texas running back Bijan Robinson with a number 8 pick in 2023. Since this list is all based on hindsight, we'll kindly ask ourselves what could have been if the Indianapolis Colts never selected Richardson 4th overall in 2023, and if instead he fell to the Falcons at number 8. Richardson's injury woes, porous accuracy, and a shaky offensive line have prevented him from hitting his ceiling in Indianapolis. And it's not all his fault. The Colts have been a quarterback graveyard since Andrew Luck's retirement, after all. Anywho, Richardson would have 4 1,000-yard weapons in Algier, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Darnell Mooney as his main weapons. And he'd be playing behind a top 5 offensive line in football. And he'd be playing in the NFL's worst division. The Falcons gutted out 7 wins with guys like Desmond Ridder, Marcus Mariota, and Taylor Heineke as their quarterbacks. Richardson has a higher ceiling than all of them, and it's not a stretch to think that he'd at least play at a good enough level to help Atlanta win at least one NFC South Division crown. His dual-threat style of play would have worked perfectly on Atlanta's rush-heavy offense that is absolutely loaded with playmakers. Will Levis, Las Vegas Raiders. Mock draft enthusiasts may recall that this was a popular prediction heading into the 2023 NFL Draft. Levis was the consensus number 3 quarterback in the class behind top 2 picks Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. However, the Raiders surprised many by passing on Levis in the number 7 spot, instead selecting Texas Tech defensive end Tyree Wilson. In a big-time stunner, Levis went unselected in round 1. In fact, he didn't go until number 33 overall in round 2, when the Tennessee Titans traded up to take the big-armed signal caller. Levis started 21 games over his first 2 seasons, going 5-16-0 with 21 touchdowns against 16 interceptions. The Titans replaced him by drafting Miami product Cam Ward at the number 1 pick in 2025. Levis required shoulder surgery that will sideline him for all of 2025. So yeah, Levis never made it in Tennessee, so we're already in the what-if phase of his career. We know the Raiders have been anything but a QB factory over the last 2 decades, but I don't know, it just feels like Levis could have been the franchise QB that they needed to succeed Derek Carr. He would have spent at least 1 year with former rushing champion Josh Jacobs and standout wide receiver Jacoby Myers. Fast forward to 2025, he'd now be working with Ashton Genty and rising superstar tight end Brock Bowers. If he came into Vegas and got the QB1 job right off the bat, well, perhaps Levis would have hit his ceiling and wiped out the 2025 Geno Smith trade. Jahan Dotson, Green Bay Packers. The Washington Commanders have been long searching for a quality number 2 receiver to complement Terry McLaurin. They thought they found their guy when they took him 16th overall in the receiver-heavy 2022 NFL Draft. Oh, if only it were true. Dotson had 2 lackluster seasons in Washington, totaling only 84 catches for 1,041 yards and 11 touchdowns in 29 games. In a surprise move, the Commanders traded him to the NFC East rival Philadelphia Eagles ahead of the 2024 regular season for 3rd and 7th round picks. Dotson did not contribute a whole lot to the Eagles' offense in 2024, but he did win a Super Bowl 59 ring when they crushed the Kansas City Chiefs in the big game. Good for Dotson, but doesn't really erase his status as a bust. The Packers, however, might have been the perfect landing spot for Dotson. They curiously double-dipped on defense with their first-round picks in 2022, taking Georgia linebacker Quay Walker and teammate Devontae Wyatt. Green Bay has also been searching for a true WR1 since the Devontae Adams trade, so pardon us for thinking that Dotson could have quickly stepped in as the lead guy in Green Bay, especially if he had Aaron Rodgers throwing to him in his rookie season. Emmanuel Forbes, Buffalo Bills. The 2022 Washington Commanders narrowly missed the playoffs with an 8-8-1 record. They stayed in the race thanks to a lights-out defense that allowed the 7th fewest points and finished 4th against the pass. So, when they used the number 16 pick of 2023 on Mississippi State cornerback Emmanuel Forbes, a 2022 consensus All-American, the sky felt like the limit for this defense. Finally, a capable shutdown corner was on the way in DC. Heck, for the first time since the D'Angelo Hall days. But, well, we all know what ended up happening here. Forbes never fit in Washington's defense, allowing a pathetic 103.0 passer rating and 60.7 completion percentage when targeted as a rookie. After 6 terrible games in 2024, Forbes was waived by the Commanders. The Los Angeles Rams picked up Forbes late in the season, where he appeared in just 2 games. Looking back, we just can't help but wonder what could have been if Forbes was drafted by a bona fide Super Bowl contender with a good defense like the Buffalo Bills. At the time, Buffalo didn't know that 2022 first-round pick Kyer Elam would go down as was a big-time bust. Bills head coach Sean McDermott has done a wonderful job developing quality defensive backs during his tenure in Western New York. Look, it's no guarantee, but maybe Forbes would have found his game immediately on a star-studded Buffalo defense with the top-tier head coach. Payton Turner, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Taking Turner 28th overall in 2021 was a stunner. You know, given that the Saints had so many other pressing needs and more than enough pass rushers, injuries limited Turner to 31 games in 4 years with the Saints, and he only had 5 sacks in those games before joining the Dallas Cowboys in 2025. The Bucs also struck out on their 2021 first-round pick by taking Washington edge rusher Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who logged just 15 sacks in 4 seasons as a Buc. Other than JTS, though, the Bucs have done a very masterful job developing stud linebackers and defensive linemen, something that tells us that Turner could have been a beast in the Bucs' star-studded front seven, especially in Todd Bowles' blitz-happy defense. Kyer Elam, Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what we said about Sean McDermott successfully developing quality defensive backs? Well, Elam was a bit of an exception. The Bills swung and missed when they took the Florida cornerback with the number 23 pick in 2022. Injuries limited Elam to 29 games over 3 years with Buffalo, and he was a disaster in coverage with a 70.3 completion percentage and 100.0 passer rating allowed when targeted. Elam was traded to the Dallas Cowboys this offseason, so only time will tell if a change of scenery does the job. The Steelers also wasted their first-round pick of 2022 on quarterback Kenny Pickett, who lasted just 2 years in Steel City before getting traded to the Eagles. Who knows, Elam might have been a star if he was drafted by the Steelers instead. From Troy Polamalu to Ike Taylor to Minkah Fitzpatrick to Joey Porter Jr., the Steelers sure know how to develop stud defensive backs. And Elam would have enjoyed playing on the same D as Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, and Alex Highsmith. Jamin Davis, Denver Broncos. Many were surprised when Washington selected Kentucky linebacker Jamin Davis with the number 19 pick in 2021. I mean, they already had an elite defense, one that allowed the fourth fewest points in 2020. And heck, they had arguably football's best front seven. Davis lasted just 3.5 seasons in Washington, never materializing into an impact player whatsoever. He had just 7 sacks during his time in DC and was a mega liability in coverage, allowing a 99.8 passer rating when targeted. The Commanders finally gave up and released him during the 2024 season. Brief stops with the Packers and Minnesota Vikings did nothing for Davis, who was claimed off waivers and subsequently re-signed by the New York Jets. But perhaps Davis would have become a difference maker for the Denver Broncos. This team has done a superb job drafting and developing on the defensive side of the ball. Jonathan Cooper, Alex Singleton, and Nick Montonio have formed a special tandem at linebacker. What if Davis got the chance to work with Sean Payton and Vance Joseph here? Yeah, okay, maybe he wouldn't have been a superstar, but Davis would have fared much better in Denver's stingy defensive system compared to what we saw in Washington. Trevor Penning, Dallas Cowboys. Penning was considered one of the top offensive linemen in a not-so-deep 2022 draft class. After using their initial first-round pick on Chris Olave, the Saints snagged the hulking Northern Iowa offensive lineman at number 19 overall. Well, Penning has already been a mega bust for the Saints. After appearing in just 6 games as a rookie, Penning finished with a 2023 Pro Football Focus grade of 53.6. In 2024, the grade was a mess 60.2, with 13 penalties taken and 5 sacks allowed. Yay! Penning's failure to develop forced New Orleans to use its last 2 first-round picks on offensive linemen Talisa Fuaga and Kelvin Banks Jr. And hey, look, hate Jerry Jones all you want, but the Cowboys know how to draft and develop stud offensive linemen. Who knows, maybe Penning would have hit his potential if he landed in Dallas, instead of, a middling New Orleans team. Caleb Farley, Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone knows the sad story by now. Farley was once considered a potential top 10 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. But a serious back injury scared teams off and led to him slipping to the Tennessee Titans at number 22 overall. Unfortunately, injuries limited Farley to 12 games over his first 2 NFL seasons. Then he missed all of 2023 with a nagging back injury, prompting the Titans to release him ahead of the 2024 season. Farley was then picked up by the Carolina Panthers, but saw very limited action in 9 games. And just like that, it already looks like his NFL career is on the verge of ending. But what if Farley landed with the Kansas City Chiefs? The team with the best defensive coordinator ever in Steve Spagnuolo? The team always finds stud cornerbacks, aka Marcus Peters, L'Jarius Sneed, and Trent McDuffie. Had Farley avoided the injury bug bug and landed with the Chiefs, Andy Reid and Spags could have fully unlocked his potential and made him the next great corner in KC before they drafted McDuffie in 2022. Kadarius Toney, Baltimore Ravens. I think everyone knows the story by now. The speedy Florida wideout just never cut it with the New York Giants, who selected him with the number 20 pick in 2021. Toney only played 12 games over 2 years with the Giants before they gave up and flipped him to the Kansas City Chiefs ahead of the 2022 trade deadline. Toney made several heroic plays in the Chiefs' Super Bowl 57 victory over the Eagles, but he otherwise never hit his ceiling despite the Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes luxury. Toney caught only 41 passes for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns in 20 games with KC, who released him months after their successful 2023 Super Bowl title defense. So, what if the Giants had passed on Toney, and what if the Ravens selected him over Rashad Bateman at number 27 overall? His versatility, speed, and athleticism could have made him a dynamic weapon in a Ravens offense on RPO, jet sweep, and motion plays. Toney's unique skill set never worked with the Giants or Chiefs, but man, he could have been something super special in the Ravens' innovative offense with a 2-time MVP quarterback leading the way. But hey, which other recent NFL draft bust could have been great on another team? Let us know in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton, and we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.